Hi guys, it's Matt. Welcome to day 39 of saving up for the Sony FX30. Today we are doing color grading. I'm going to talk to you about kind of my techniques, and we're specifically going to be color grading in Adobe Premiere Pro. I will say that if you really want to become kind of an advanced colorist, I would look into DaVinci Resolve. It's free. I believe that DaVinci Resolve has a lot more tools that you can use for color than Premiere Pro does. And I'm also not like a huge expert. If you really want an expert in DaVinci Resolve, I suggest you follow this guy on YouTube named Runhar. He has some really fantastic DaVinci Resolve tutorials. I'm going to be explaining my process on how I color grade in Adobe Premiere Pro. First thing is I have my S-Log3 footage right here. And over here, I usually only touch the basic corrections in Premiere Pro. I really kind of just stick with the basic because this is kind of what I like. Under basic correction, you have input LUT. On their website, Sony has free LUTs that you can download. You have LUTs for Cine AI, LUTs for Log3. For right now, what I really like is I kind of like the Alexa default Log C2. I like the way that this looks on S-Log footage. So my first step is to click it, and then after we import our LUT, that's when we can actually start making color grading adjustments. So the first adjustment that I always like to make is I always like to hit my saturation first, because after I hit my saturation, then I can go to my temperature and I can see, is this gonna be a little bit too warm? So on the left side, you can kind of see I got like the blue and I got this white light that kind of goes over my glasses and stuff. And then over on the right, it's kind of like a greenish orange. So when I bump up the saturation, we're gonna kind of see that this turns into a little bit more green. That's a little too saturated. I like to keep it between 110 and 120. That I kind of like, that looks pretty good. So after I hit my saturation, then I look at my color temperatures. I usually just wave this around. I kind of like this, I don't really like. I usually like going cooler rather than warmer, because it's just what I prefer. So I kind of like, you know, and that. Let's see if we go back to 0. 0 is actually okay. Maybe I'll just do like a -2. -2 is good. And then my tint over here, this basically changes your greens and your purples. Over here is a little green, so I don't really want to touch, you know, it's not really pink, but like maybe there, maybe like a 1 on the pink, and that's pretty good. Then I'm gonna hit my contrast and I'm gonna pull this, and sometimes I like to pull it to the extreme. Oh, we don't really want it to look like that, but I'm gonna keep it around 20. That's pretty good. I'm actually gonna go over here and I'm gonna click on my lumetri scopes. I like to look at it as like your brightness settings. So I like to bump the highlights up a little bit, bump the whites up a tad, and then always pull your shadows down. Now, the reason why you pull your shadows down is because when I was filming this, I made sure that my exposure was between 1.7 and 2 on the multimeter. And because of that, I can pull down my shadows. That looks pretty good. I like that. There is a little bit of green over here, and then I always pull blacks down a little bit. If they have like black hair, don't pull down the blacks too much, because it'll be like a vortex of black and it looks a little sloppy. But that looks pretty good. One thing that I can do now is I can hold down Option and I can pull up. I'm gonna go to Source, and I'm going to actually delete the lumetri color, because what I wanna do is I wanna create a mask. So I'm gonna go over to this effects, I'm gonna go to this little pen tool, and I'm going to draw a mask over this side. Paste our color here. And now that we have a mask here, I'm actually gonna pull this. And then if we're over here, if I turn off my second layer, you can see how this edge is a little bit more greener. and I just pulled the pinks up a little bit. Now what I do want to watch out is this door does change hues a little bit. Then another thing I do is I go here and I go to my vignette and I pull that to like, I pull that down like a little, like right there. And then we'll do that the same here. And then that vignette kind of adds some darkness to the corners and highlights my face. There are other tools and options over here. This is kind of my process for color grading. Yes, you can do things that are a little bit more, that are a lot more advanced, but this is kind of the extent to what I do to make a good looking product. And I want to emphasize the importance of actually filming before you color grade. Nail the skin tones. You have a good background, a bright background or an interesting background that looks decent. This background doesn't look very interesting at all. The speaker is kind of the spotlight. Proper white balance, engaging background, and nice lighting. If you nail these three things, proper white balance, good lighting, cool background. If the skin tones don't look good, that's the first thing that people are gonna see when they're looking at your footage. So always make sure that it always starts as you're recording. That's where color grade, in my head, that's where color grading starts. I love editing, I love doing all this stuff, but you have to nail your camera skills when it comes to color if you want to get it right. There's a lot of coloring things that you can do if your white balance doesn't turn out great, but color grading will be a much easier process if you do it this way. Thank you guys, that's kind of my tutorial. Hope everyone has a great day. Goodbye.